I'm Jimmy Lewis, and this is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, the dirt bike podcast where we talk about motorcycle and motorcycle-related products. In episode number 38 of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, we introduce you to Taco Mike, whose white paper sheets got me all worked up, and we had to bring him in to talk about it. We talk ECU tuners. We talk about when to rebuild your engine. We get a call in from Mark from Baja Diaries. And we just answer any question that's thrown at us. Listen to the show. This show is brought to you by DDC Racing. That's Delaney Drive Components. They're makers of very strong, durable, chromoly, chrome-plated sprockets. If you've seen these things, they look like Swiss cheese. They're super light for a steel sprocket. They last forever. They come with a 1-year warranty, and they are built by riders who really care about keeping riding areas open. So if you're interested in some good drive systems parts, check out ddcracing.net. That's Delaney Drive Components. Along with, Climb has been with this show since the beginning, and I really appreciate that. What I like even better is that the gear is super awesome. I've been wearing it since the beginning. It's evolved a bunch. It's very durable, really good fitting. They have features on their gear that are pretty much industry leading. And I appreciate that because that's what I wear when I get to do fun stuff, and I'm comfortable, and I like almost everything that they make. So if you are looking for a change of gear, or you're looking for the best gear, I think you won't be disappointed by trying Climb. So give them a look. And Taco Moto. So you've heard us talk about Taco Mike on the show. He's been a guest host a few times. Taco Moto Co., that's how you find him on the web, sells a lot of the kind of cool and unique tuning products that you need to get your emissions compliant bike running up to snuff. So if you have questions, he has answers, and he can also sell you the stuff. So if we can't answer the question here, which we hope we can, maybe he can answer the question over there, and he can also sell you the parts that you might need to get your especially KTM or Husky dual sport bike running like a champ. Anyways, it's tacomoto.co. Now, here's the show. Live from Pahrump tonight. It's Tuesday. That means it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is episode number 38. I am here with, believe it or not, Taco Mike. And Mike,
what are the chances?
What are the chances? How do you pronounce your last name?
Spurgeon.
Spurgeon. So Mike is Taco Mike, and I found out about him when somebody forwarded me this white paper that he did that we brought up on the thing, and I'm pretty sure that whoever sent it to me thought I was going to like rip Mike a new one because I know more about the KTM 500 EXC than everybody. Just ask me and I'll tell you that. But he did an excellent job of explaining all that stuff. And in fact, he probably knows more about it than I do at that point because he deals with regular people where I kind of shut myself away from the regular people because you can't call me except for on this podcast and ask questions. Mike, what's the name of your company?
So Taco Moto Co. tacomoto.co. That's it.
That's it. Okay.
I should be a better marketer.
So we're going to work on that because George is trying to type that in right now. That's how good George is. That's what his job kind of is. No matter where he is, he manages to figure out the websites, puts the links up. And so if you're in the chat room during the live show, you get to see that. But if not, you have to hit rewind on the YouTubes, or you hit back on your podcast. But generally when you're listening to this stuff, it's like you're just kind of sucking it in. So it's you would go search what? Taco Mike, Moto, EXC, KTM.
I'm sure all that would pull up. We're on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff too. All the socials.
And you have also started a pretty good group on Facebook?
Yeah, so we have a tech support group that's primarily like trying to target guys with EXC and FE bikes, the street legal plated dual sport bikes.
Those are KTMs and
KTM and Husky.
The white KTMs.
Yeah, the white KTMs without the PDS.
With the best suspension system known to man.
The Link.
What Link?
The PDS. You like PDS?
Mine doesn't have
a link thing. They hook up on logs, throw you over the handlebars.
Yeah.
Scorpion. But anyways, so I met Mike at the KTM Adventure Rider Rally in person. We talked a few times on the phone, and today he brought out a whole bunch of Get Athena/Get ECUs that we tried on a few different bikes. We didn't try the Vortex one on the bike yet, but we were just kind of playing around with them, seeing what we do, seeing what they do. He found out I'm a really picky. What would you call me?
You're just a picky tester, or picky rider, which is great.
Yeah. So we were messing around with that stuff, trying to learn some stuff. We learned some stuff. It's interesting to see, and that's why I wanted to have him come out, because I have not had a whole lot of experience with those, little green and little yellow boxes. I mean, I have with the Vortex back when they were ignition only.
Yeah, CDI box only.
CDI only boxes. And I've heard a lot about them. And so I definitely wanted to try them so that I can be more informed and communicate that stuff and answer your questions, especially when my answer of, just turn the throttle farther isn't enough for you. So that's what Mike's here for. He's going to be able to answer some of your questions. I'm going to let him try to answer some of your questions, and then I'll try to answer some of your questions. So, hey, wait, look at somebody on the board. Danielle Oliver says, Jimmy, you were right. I'm like, what did you expect? Right? That I was wrong? There was that one time that I was wrong. I'm not sure what I was right about. And George, pizza is good taco for me. Pizza is a taco if you're Jim from New York, who was in the studio last week. Yes, and that's what he told us. He said if you fold your pizza in half, it's just like a taco in New York. Let's see. The best upgrade for my bike was a better rider. Oh, yeah. That's what it says on the back of our T-shirts for the school. So, and it says, George, explain yourself. Yeah, she did, I think. She explained. She was just like, there's the delay. That's the problem with the form. So we're going to go right into questions. We're hoping to have a call in tonight from Trevor Hunter, who is in North Carolina riding Yamaha's new YZ125X and YZ250FX, I believe. And then Mark Kakapoloff, who is Baja Diaries Mark, and he's been on the show before. He is going to call in. He just picked up a new Honda CRF 250L Rally, and he's going to go rally it around the Sierras, and he's going to tell us about his plans for that. It's a test bike for us, and he's going to tell us some cool stuff. So that should be good. I'm going to go right into our first question. Serena Bleeker says, she says it first. Like the hit song, the Killers song, the Killers song states, if you want to be the man, you have to have gas in the tank and money in the bank. And have a gas can handy at camp or in the pit makes for quick on-the-go fill-ups. A larger 5-gallon gas can may help increase your riding time by approximately 2 more fill-ups, which of course depends on the fuel capacity of your motorcycle. You want a gas can that's easy to pours precisely, don't cry over spilled gas, and is held in a durable container. Somebody's just getting me to read a read on the show
by
sending me a question. Right. Guess what kind of gas can that is? I don't know. Obviously not a California emissions plant gas can, because that means you'd be spilling it all over the ground and not into your tank. So anyways, yeah, good job, Serena. Shows I read the questions before the show. Next question. Dear sir, we are offering our manufacturer's services in racing wares like MX, BMX, and off-road, and paintball wares. We have complete manufacturing set up in one place to accommodate our old and new clients. I think that's me, new clients. Customized manufacturing is also available. You can send your artwork for your required stuff. You listen to this, Mike?
This is important.
Yeah. We are here attaching some different product photos for an idea. Please ask more if you have any further questions. Waiting for your kind, cooperative response. Thank you, Torben.
You could tell he may not know you because he's dear sir.
Oh, I should have just stopped right at the beginning, huh? Okay. Yeah, those are the kind of emails we get all the time at Dirt Bike Test. If you would like us to promote your wares or sponsors or whatever, just send the check first, and then I can guarantee you I will read it on the thing. Jimmy, I love your Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Your aimless banter is often funny, sometimes quizzical, and always informative. Well, like the last 5 minutes, right? Oh, here's my questions. That's what I always say. Just throw a compliment out, and maybe it puts it up farther up the line. I have a 2017 it's a white KTM TE 300i I use for trail riding up here in the woods of NorCal. I love the bike. I currently have 185 hours on it in the stock top end and drivetrain, chain and sprockets. Is it time for a top end? 185 hours. I'm going to get back to that. How can you tell? I'm going to get back to that because I'm going to go. I'll talk this. And do I need to have the cylinder honed or somehow serviced, or just throw in a new piston, rings, gaskets in? How do you figure out how to tell when it's time to change the sprockets and chains? On my mountain bike, I always change them all at the same time. Do you need to do the same on a dirt bike? Countershaft sprocket, rear sprocket, chain, and maybe the guides too. Okay, Terry Ash. I'm going to answer your question. At 185 hours on a two-stroke, and like just trail riding and stuff, I think you can probably get some more out of it. I've seen guys go 300 and 400 hours on those bikes, but at 185 hours, I would start thinking about changing it, just because on my two strokes, I always kind of was 200 hours seemed to be the upper limit if everything was going just good, because it's so easy to do and it's pretty inexpensive. And at that point, you're probably starting to see power loss. And if you were really scientific about it, you could probably be doing compression checks and stuff, but you'd have to know where you started at new for it to really make any sense where you're at right now. A compression tester is pretty inexpensive, and maybe that's something you can start on your next cycle, and that's where you know where you're at. How can I tell? When is it time to do the top end? So if it was my bike, I can hear it. I can kind of hear it when the piston starts, clapping around. Another thing that's really easy to do is you can take the pipe off and look up in the rings. And when you start seeing a significant amount of blow-by on the rings, just when you shine the flashlight up in the exhaust port, that's another really good way to get a visual, which it's hard to do on a four-stroke, for instance, to see kind of where you're at. Am I going down the right path here? You liking this?
I like it. I like how, the thing I was going to ask is 300 hours for a civilian bike versus like 200 on yours. So a Jimmy Lewis bike is not a civilian bike, right?
No, it is, because when I test things, I go out and I'm kind of a little bit abusive to them. But when I'm riding a 300 a two-stroke, I'm probably riding it. And that's the thing is people say, oh, well, an expert rider, they're actually hard on it. They might actually be easier on it. A novice rider might be over revving it and, hard on the shifts, or might just lug the bike so much that there's lots of carbon buildup, which isn't that good. Pieces of carbon breaking off, falling down the side, on the side of the cylinder. Yeah. The power valve might be getting gummed up where, so like your ability level really doesn't determine, everybody's, hard pro hours. I mean, if you're pounding supercross hoops, that's different. But I could see where a novice guy out in the desert going across hoops could be worse than an intermediate guy, just because maybe they're hitting them harder, or maybe they're heavier and they're landing in different spots, maybe where they shouldn't, and that puts more strain. It's like those sudden impacts is what really puts strain on it. That piston going up and down in the cylinder is not very strenuous when it, we should talk about the lubrication.
Is this a good time to read that up?
No, I don't want to open another can of worms, but we will.
There might be some two-stroke oil.
There might be a can of worms involved. So, and then when so at 185 hours, it's really not a bad time to tear the thing apart. Give it a good once over, look at it, and then you can see how hard, what it looks like, and then maybe I waited a little bit too long, and there's all kinds of measurements that you can take. The good KTM manual will show you how to put the feeler gauge in lots of places and use a mic in different places to check wear levels. You can see whether your piston is wearing or your rings are wearing. I mean, just slide the rings back in the cylinder and take an end gap measurement, and that'll tell you where you're at. And if it's good, and it may be, then you go, I didn't necessarily need to do this, and cheap insurance. A couple other tips that I'll tell you: measure your gaskets, especially your base gasket. Well, I think that's the only one you can really measure. But measure your base gasket to make sure you have the right size one when you put it back together. Then, kind of clean everything out. Check your rod to make sure your rod's, tight, the big end bearing, small end bearing. And, generally if your top end is good, those things will be good. And so on my 200, my KTM 200 is the two-stroke that I kind of had. Well, I've had one now since 2004 because Gabe gave it back to me. I go 2 to 3 top ends per crank rebuild. And that's just kind of what I've done. That's what I used to do when I was racing, when I was replacing top ends on my 125 at 20 hours, because I could feel it lose power, and that bike was being ridden at 10/10s. But I never had any crank failures doing that, so that's kind of what I've stuck with. And now on my 200, I'm going 50 to 80 hours, 90 hours, and that thing, smaller bore, it's getting ridden hard. I'm still on that kind of crank. If I pull it apart the first time, it's always tight. The second time, you can start feeling something, and then I make a judgment call. Is it, whether the side play or the up and down play, you don't want any up and down play, but hopefully that how do I tell? It's just experience and stuff like that. And then, do I need to have the cylinder honed? I say no, but a lot of other people will tell you yes, and it kind of depends on if those cylinders are pretty hard, and if it's in good shape, and you just have to have the right hone, and you have to know how to do it. And I have put 3 and 4, 5 pistons in Nikasil cylinders, and to deglaze it is essentially what it does.
So we've had this conversation recently where what's the difference between a hone versus a deglaze?
Oh, deglaze.
Yeah. So, a hone is basically where you've put in the crosshatch. So if you've worn out a cylinder, the inside of the plating, the Nikasil, the chrome plating, and you don't see a crosshatch any longer, or you've mic'd it and it's out of spec, meaning the chrome is worn out and now you're over spec, then you need to get that replated. And that crosshatch is the hone. And that's a completely different thing than deglaze. So deglaze would be when you've just got some carbon buildup, and you'll see kind of a brown haze to the surface material. And you can use an aluminum oxide hone. And as I say this, I want to be very, very careful, because they're two very separate things. A hone and a crosshatch is a different thing than a deglaze. A deglaze is where you just run that ball, a very well lubricated with your 2-stroke or 4-stroke oil, depending on what machine it is, and you just run that aluminum oxide, maybe 320 probably would be the grit, very carefully, not very long. Don't spend a whole lot of time on there. And you're just pulling away. Essentially, it's like Scotch-Brite. A lot of guys will take a Scotch-Brite and do that. This is in effect the exact same thing, but a little better in my opinion, because it's doing it in a uniform way rather than just sitting there and trying to spin the jug and then get your Scotch-Brite in there.
Take one part out, and that's a good point. Is when there's wear, usually even on we'll call it a well polished cylinder, you can still see some traces of if the cylinder's in good shape, you can still see some traces of the hone marks. But I have seen glaze build up to the point where you no longer see the cross hatches, and so it's actually they're still in there. And if you, like I say, do clean them off, a hone is an effective way to take the glaze off, because it also generally kind of goes in there and scratches up the cylinder. Some people say it makes the rings seat in better, and you're starting fresh again. I've done it. I've done it probably 100 times. Not done anything. Just slap the new piston and rings in there and put it right back in if everything's in spec. So I think it's just one extra step you can do or not do. I'm sure somebody has some number. Well, actually, you know what? If somebody had some really good numbers on that, then that would be the science or the the way to justify the right answer. And I haven't seen it either. In my experience, I haven't seen it either or. And I've seen really good race mechanics put stuff back in. Really good race mechanics aren't working on 200 and 300 hour stuff. They're replacing everything with fresh at that point. But when you're talking
doing a budget build, you want to avoid
you're just keeping if you're just keeping your stuff running, I think you can put it back in. If everything's within spec and nothing's worn out, I think you can just put it back in. If you're trying to get the max, then I would talk to somebody who really knows what they're doing. I've seen it done both ways. Probably more race guys do actually hone it, but they're starting with fresh stuff, and they're miking the pistons. They're getting the right. They'll have a set of 6 pistons, and they check each one, and the one that fits the best goes in there. So. Yeah. So Terry, hopefully that answered your question. Oh, chain and sprockets. I always do. If I only have one bike, which I don't, but if I only had one bike, I would always do chains and sprockets as matched sets. I have a lot of different bikes and a lot of different wheels, so I'm constantly switching them, so they're all mismatched, but they all seem to.
Do not try this at home.
Yeah, they all seem to mesh in together and stuff. But as a rule of thumb, chains and sprockets, they will bed in if it's always on the same one. So that is the right thing to do. As far as the guides, it kind of depends on how worn out the guides are, whether I'll change them. Sometimes when they get worn a little bit, then they start, instead of just running on the side plates of the chain, they actually start running on the rollers, and they become more effective and start wearing slower. So that's one of the things. And what are we talking about? Oh, Dirt Trick sprockets.
Well, do you know about the Dirt Tricks chain wear gauge?
The tool, yeah, I have a couple of them.
Great.
Yeah. Yep. They have a tool for it that you basically hook it on the inner link on the roller, and it tells you whether your sprocket, if you can't move it anymore, your chain is stretched out too much. I've been running the DDC sprockets, which are very similar, and I know Nate pretty well, and he does a lot for land use, and so he gets my dollars when it comes time for sprockets and stuff like that. So if you're looking for that, check out DDC for sprockets. By the way, Welding Blaster number 1 asks this question: is it better than a KTM? Oh, this is on a Honda CRF 450X video that we have, this CRF 450L. He says, is it better than a KTM? I think so. My 2019 CRF 450L is a replacement for my 2019 EXC 500F. The Honda is, in my opinion, a lot more bike for the money, and the KTM build quality and lack of quality control and manufacturing left a lot to be desired. Well, it's lucky that Welding Blaster 1 isn't here, because he would be in the minority, right?
There's a lot of orange bikes out there.
There's a lot of orange bikes. I have a couple red ones. There's actually one of those bikes, that 2019 450L in the container. It's not mine, but no, I'm not gonna argue with them. It's kind of funny because when I look at a KTM and I look at a Honda, I see two very well built, high quality bikes. And I can look and see where each of those brands has cut little corners, made little compromises, and they're different.
Yeah.
And so if there's a certain thing about the Honda that appeals to you, a lot of times people look at the aluminum frame, and you look at that pot metal KTM frame that's just like, well, it's actually excellent, but it's like the aluminum frame just looks better, or maybe just, my bike has a titanium gas tank and that has plastic, and they use wood screws. KTM uses
gas tank.
They use wood screws on their gas tank. Yeah. And so, the Honda's definitely better. So, hey, you know what, Welding Blaster, you're definitely, that I think you're entitled to your opinion, and it just goes to show that it depends on how you look at stuff. And I'm stoked that you like your bike. You're better than the KTM, because then I have somebody to argue with. Otherwise, we'd all be riding around in KTMs, and then it would be boring, right, George? Yeah. You and your KTM 500. Mojave Bob and his KTM 350, you and all your KTMs. I'm sick of you guys. I was riding KTMs almost before anybody. Well, not really, but pretty close. My KTMs, when I started riding them, they were red, white, and blue. That's how old I am. And then they were teal and blue, and then they went through a purple phase on my KTMs.
The oval KTM logo.
Yeah, that was when I was a KTM guy, and then I quit, and then had to write other colors. But so
suppose this guy, he makes a valid point. And every machine, every manufacturer is going to make these compromises on where they're going to spend a lot of R&D, engineering, and then maybe effort in good quality build. And then they're going to maybe have some areas that don't reflect that. Get involved in a really good like Facebook group or advrider.com or somewhere where there's guys who know those brands and those bikes very, very well, and then ask them and find out what the weak area is. Because I think it's unfair to say that any one brand is better overall than in the other. I think we could argue the point.
You can argue about it, and I would say be careful when you go on the internet groups, because what did I word it today? When you actually did a little research on with your group, and you asked about some of the common problems.
Oh, that's a good one.
You talked about the common problems, and I always sit there and go, man, if it's more than 3% of owners that have this problem, then the manufacturer is very good about issuing recalls and fixing that problem, and they're not trying to cover it up. They're really trying to fix it, because at 1 to 3%, that's quote not acceptable. And then on like the fuel filter splitting, I think is the one we used as our example.
Yeah.
And we hear about it all the time, and everybody has to replace it with different. You have to do it, and like out of your group, which is like 2,000 some odd strong, and you ask them how many had it happen.
Yeah, so I did a poll on our Facebook group, which is specifically that EXE FE group. That's what we're targeting. And I asked, and I wanted first-person accounts, not like hearsay, but have you personally on your bike had a fuel filter failure? Because a lot of guys will say that MAL KL97.
See the big pack of them I had in the shop?
You got a big 10-pack in there?
Yeah, you know why I don't have them? Because I have that many tanks. And you know why there's that many brand new ones?
Because you change it out pretty often, like the manual probably says.
I've changed one in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've changed one of those filters. No, I take that back. On my 950, but those filters are external. I don't remember. I've done one fuel filter on KTM EXCs since they've been fuel injected, out of all the hours I've done. And I just did it recently. So that's why I bought a pack, because I know I'm going to go through and do them all.
Just do them all.
I will, but I don't need to. But anyway, keep going. So how many people had that happen?
Yeah, so I asked specifically, like in your first person experience, what did you have fail in your bike, fuel related? So did you have fuel pump? Did you have in-tank hose? And then did you have a fuel filter split? And there's a lot of hearsay. A lot of guys will say, oh, those are really big common failure items. So it ended up being 0.18% failure rate. That was the math.
0.18 or 0.08?
0.08. No, not 0.18, not 18%, but 0.18.
Yeah.
So not even 1%.
Yeah.
Just a little over 1%.
A little over 1%.
A little over 1. And that was the failure rate of that fuel filter. So the hearsay would make you think that that's happening 50% of the time. Like every other guy is having this failure rate, and yet it's incredibly rare. Very, very, it's not common at all.
And like I told Mike, because I get people come all the time and say, hey, doing this and just all the other stuff. Hey, Jimmy, did you hear about this? And it's like, did you hear about this? And I hear people, a lot of people asking me, did you hear about this problem and this problem? And I said, yeah, I heard about, but you know what? You know what's a really big problem? And they're like, what's that? And I go, that you're hearing about all these problems, because that's how it gets started. It just goes in amplifies. I remember when I was growing up and I first started reading cycle news, you would hear about somebody that would write in and say, I bought this bike and I had this problem, and they complain, and a lot of times, believe it or not, it was KTM. They were having problems with KTMs, and I mean this is in the 80s. Back when I didn't even know what a KTM was. And KTM, the next week, the same guy would write in a letter and said, oh yeah, after my letter, KTM, sent me a new motor. And they were doing that kind of stuff. The guy was, but everybody go, oh, KTMs are junk. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, if it breaks, KTM is going to send me a new motor. Sort of the cycle news was the early internet of, gripes. But I was always thinking they must just break all the time. And they didn't. Okay. Let's see. Did anybody call in, Gabe? No? No. None of our Cub reporters are calling in. Mark will call in. I told him to call in at 30 minutes. It's 7:29. Or he was out riding his bicycle and he got lost. So, let's see. First off, I love your 4T video cast. That's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, by the way. I love listening.
Nerdsville.
I love listening to it as a podcast at work. I love hearing from your guests, especially Logan. Where's Logan? Yeah. And how is your experience and how your experiences shape your answers to listener questions? I would love to see, hear, read about a future test of SMW motorcycles, the Super Dual or Enduro or both. I think the 500cc Enduro would be an interesting comparison to the 500 EXC. And no, I don't work for SMW. Paul Gerard. Thanks, Paul. I know the SMW importer. I know Pete Vetrano, and I could probably swing that, arrange that. Hopefully, yeah. It's all time. It's all time and money these days. And the SMW, those are the old Huskies, the old Italian Huskies, which are Kajivas, which are sort of influenced by BMW, and then somebody just took the whole shop someplace else, and now they're SMW. So if he's talking the 500, that'd be an interesting one, because is it still the motor that spins backwards? Is it still that BMW design one, or was it the old Husky?
I don't know.
The 450. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough.
But it might be worth pointing out that if you've got one of those mid-model Huskies, one of the Husqvarnas, one of the Italian Husqvarnas, and you need parts for that, SWM is really probably the source to
SWM,
go and find new manufacturer parts for that gap model of those Huskies.
That's
because you're not going to find it from a KTM dealer, or that supply chain is dried up.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of those 310s that were out there, and there was the 310 and the 250, which were kind of common, and then there was they had a 450 that was not the BMW derived 450. They had a 450 and a 500. I remember riding them as Huskies, and they were blue and orange at one point, and then they were red and white for a while, red and black. Man, I can't remember those.
Red and black. That's the ones I remember.
Yeah. So, and it's funny. So this kind of gets me into another thing. And somebody said, why don't you ever test some of those Chinese motorcycles? And the funny thing is, I have a Christini 450 in my shop right now that we've been riding around, and it is essentially, quote, what you would call one of the Chinese motorcycles. It's like an Asia Wing bike. And it's definitely, when you start talking about the build quality between the Honda and the KTM, it's not on that level. And because of the price you can get it at and some of the other stuff, it's never going to be at that level. But it's pretty interesting to see, where some of these technologies are, how quickly they're kind of catching up. And the good thing about the Christini is a lot of the Christini parts, the all-wheel drive parts for that bike, are designed and manufactured in the U.S. and then kind of bolted onto it when it arrives here. So it's a kind of a collaboration. But I'd like to try some of those things. I've seen some guys do tests of them on the YouTubes and things. So phone call time. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna look at my thing here. I don't see it on the screen, Gabe. No. Well, let me see. Oh, wait. I just I reloaded the screen and it came alive. So let me unplug this. Plug this back in. Yeah. Please hold. Technical difficulties are preventing Dirt Bike Test and Tech Talk Taco Tuesday from being good. I'm going to talk to him. Talk. Does that work? And then I'm going to boot it up here. Caller. Is this Mark? Nope. Oh, Gabe, I brought you into the... Hey, Gabe, you want to talk on the show? No, he's let's see. I'll talk to you. Mark, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, do we have a good connection, or are we going to be fighting with your connection?
It depends. I could hear you perfectly. Can
Good.
You hear me?
I can hear you. I think we're doing okay now. So Mark,
Okay.
How do you say your last name again?
My last name is kind of sucky, so we can just call myself Berm Cannon.
Berm Cannon, right? It's Kaplikov. What letters?
It's Kalpakov.
Kalpakov, right? I like to butcher that as much as possible, like most names. So Mark picked up a Honda CRF 250L Rally from us, and where are you going?
Right now, I am somewhere between Trona and Lone Pine, California.
Okay, so you should probably park, because if you're driving, you're going to lose connection. I just tell you, I've been out there before.
I am parked, and I am next to a cell tower.
Okay.
I have full bars.
Good. Do you have a tinfoil hat on?
No, but I have some empty Coke cans that I have on my antenna.
Good. So you are going to be posting some stories up on our Instagram account of you taking this bike on awesome adventures. Where should people follow you?
Well, I think what they should do is, first of all, make sure they're subscribed to Dirt Bike Test, and they are allowing Dirt Bike Test stories to be shown on their feed.
Okay.
And I would say the good stuff will probably be ending up there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the scraps will be ending up on Baja Diaries on Instagram.
Right. So you're bringing Baja Diaries north.
Yeah. I mean, it's constant showing people. My whole thing is there's enough GoPro footage of people riding on Instagram, but there's not enough, proper content of showing people how to get to these great places that people go to ride.
Cool.
And I do that on YouTube. I mean, Instagram, I hate it. They could suck it. Instagram sucks. But
tell us how you really feel.
I'm playing the game, and yeah. I mean, for now, I'm playing the game like anybody else.
Yeah, you got to figure out how to tell everybody for free so you can get a thumbs up. Wait, you can't even get a thumbs up on Instagram. You just get a like. What do you get there?
Heart.
A heart?
Aw.
Well, starting this week, they're taking that away. So nobody's getting shit.
How are you gonna feel good about yourself at night if you don't get a heart?
Well, that's the thing is you could tell by how many followers I have. I don't really compete for those. But
George has 7. Do you have more than George? He got Mike here to subscribe to him on Instagram.
Internet famous.
So Baja.
Well, yeah.
Baja.
He's
hey,
got me beat.
you should try to find George on Instagram too. He likes everything that I like. So you just find that one guy that trolls me all the time. That's George. And then he'll have like 8 followers by the end of tonight. Like that's almost as many as Logan. And Logan doesn't even say anything.
That's perfect.
The good thing is they're sitting in here in the studio and they can't hear what you're saying. The bad stuff about them. That's the weird thing about doing the calls, right? Right, George? Yeah. You can't hear. Yeah. So Baja Diaries going riding up in the Eastern Sierras, going to take some fun routes. What did you do that CRF 250L to get it ready?
So to start out with, and this has been my vision of the 250L since it kind of came out a couple years ago. But I look at that bike and I see a classic XR 400. So I want to find out, is it like that bike? Is it better? Is it slower? And right off the bat, because of the terrain I'm in, for everybody that rides out here in Jawbone, I put on some STI Tech 2 Pro D tires, just so if I'm climbing up some gnarly things, I have a little bit more meat on it.
Because it came with what, the IRC like trail wings or something?
Yeah, it came with those, which I guess I could have gotten by with them, but I don't know. I think because I rode some BMW GSs last month, and those kind of had somewhat more street version dual sport tire.
Right.
And I was I was suffering a little bit. So with this, I was like, okay, I'm just going to immediately change them out.
Worse than when you're on a KTM 690.
Yeah, or a 701.
Yeah, those are those white ones. Hey, I might have some news about Huskies coming up here pretty soon. I feel like we're getting a little closer to making that happen. So,
okay.
Well, good on you, Mark. We'll look for your stories and pretty pictures. I'm jealous. That is some awesome riding you're going to get to do up there, and you probably run into some crazy people. One of these days, I'll tell you about the guys running meth that I ran into out in Saline Valley. that's why I'm packing when I'm riding every once in a while these days. So,
well, that's I got Fire Freddy with me, so he's fully certified for that kind of stuff. So
is
and he's a good photographer.
Good. Is he riding a KTM 690?
No, he's actually riding the classic XR650R with, Jimmy, you'll love this, with a Baja Designs electric start kit.
Does the gear engage and it still works?
I don't know. I just look at it and I'm like,
it looks like somebody just put a big giant weight on the side of the motor, right?
Yeah.
Hey, if it seems like it works, just have them come to my house one day. I might need to borrow some parts off that.
Yeah, for everybody listening at home, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to post a picture of how atrocious this thing kind of looks off the side of the motor. I'll put it on the stories later tonight.
Awesome. Hey, Mark, we'll have a good time. Thanks for calling in. We will we'll watch your stories and get jealous, and then people can go follow you on Baja Diaries and see where you went and how to get there.
All right, cool. You guys have a good night.
Okay, thanks. Take care. Drive safe.
Take care. All right, bye.
Cool. Well, that was Mark. He was on Tech Talk episode, probably like 10, 7, somewhere around there, in the early days. I jokingly talk about the KTM 690 because he got just flamed on the internets for he did one of those videos like why it was the worst bike ever, and I tended to agree with everything he said with the exception of the worst bike ever part. I do find it kind of confused. I think it's really good at doing a lot of stuff, but absolutely not really good at anything. And so we kind of got on that thing and we went down that road. And then all of a sudden people quit picking on him so much because he came out and said it might actually be not that bad of a bike. But okay. Let's see. We'll go back to this thing. Jim Doyle. Great 4T, Jimmy. That's what it's called now. It's called 4T.
I like it.
Yeah. It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. I will try to work up the courage to call in next Tuesday, but in case I should succumb to my fears, my question would have been, is a Suzuki RMX 250 worth restoring for trail use? In other words, what is your opinion of them and are parts available? I understand it is just an RM with a heavier flywheel and wide ratio transmission, maybe a different spring rate. So RMX 250s are really good bikes. In the day, it was I remember when Suzuki brought it out, it was like, we're going to take our RM and make it into an enduro bike. And they actually made it a green sticker. They made it like compliant. And I don't remember specifically how they did it, but it was corked up. It had a XR600, like big giant muffler and a double walled pipe. And I think it might have had a throttle stop in it. But it actually, it had the RM250 power plant. So it's kind of similar to what you're seeing, like what KTM's trying to do. They're taking their SX bike and they're, making it, kind of in a shape, street legal.
So it was a dual sport bike because I'm looking it up. I never heard of this before.
Yeah, not dual sport.
It's got a backlight on. It's got a headlight.
You're looking at a race version. So he's Googled it right away. He's looking at that. That's a full on race version of that bike.
Yeah, but it's got lighting.
Oh yeah, it has lights. So Yamaha at the time had a WR 250, which was a YZ 250. Does that have that looks like the stock pipe? Yeah, look at that pipe on the back of it.
Yeah.
So they were actually pretty cool bikes. Are you crazy for restoring it? No, but you're going to get a bike with 20-year-old brakes, and it's still a 2-stroke, so it wasn't that super. You're thinking it's not going to be super carbureted all that well. It'll be a great putt and trail bike.
Style points at like 1,000.
Yeah, it does. It is a cool bike. I don't know if parts are available. I think you could find most anything you need through the aftermarket. As far as companies like Pivot Works and All Balls and companies like Pro X, and there's a lot of companies that still have that stuff. I don't think the RM250 2-stroke changed a whole lot in its years, so that might work out for you there. Being able to get the parts and stuff. So it did have, so heavier flywheel, had that wide ratio transmission. It had a little bit of lighting power, not much. And the suspension was completely set up for off-road. They actually did a pretty good job with that, if I recall correctly. So, actually, I think Gnarly Dave, one of our buddies from out here, had one of those or was restoring or worked on one of those. Maybe that's his you're seeing on the internet that he's trying to sell, because now he's riding an older Yamaha 4-stroke or something. And then San Felipe Bob, I don't know, is he in the room? Where's San Felipe Bob? Did we lose him? Because he's the Yamaha WR250 guy. Like that was his bike. He desert raced those, and I liked those a lot. Because Yamaha sold it more as a competition bike. It wasn't as corked up, and it was just easier to start with. Jimmy, do you think that Yamaha will ever bridge the gap and start making something like a YZ300X, a WR350F, or a 450F with a 6-speed gearbox? Or will they just sit by and watch KTM continue to rule the world? This is Curtis Kelly asks this question. I'm not Yamaha, so I can't answer exactly what they're going to be doing, but I doubt that they're going to make a YZ300X, a WR350F, or a 450F with a 6-speed gearbox, because actually of all the 450s, the FX type bikes, they have the best 5-speed wide ratio gearbox, and I think they're pretty happy with it, and I think they get away with a lot with it. So putting a 6-speed gearbox in it would mean redesigning and making a whole new motor. I mean, there's just not the room to put 6 speeds in their box, and they're using the same cases for the most part as they are with YZ. And until they actually, maybe they'll make a 450 enduro bike in some place in the future, and that might get your 6-speed, but it might end up a lot like a Honda Sierra 450L, which is a different machine. In the 300X and 350F, I think they're pretty happy to just let KTM do that. There's probably not the numbers in those bikes. And again, those bikes are built off of a existing platform, YZ250 2-stroke or YZ250F 4-stroke, and they just do the small things, which our guys are out riding, and they were supposed to call in and tell us about the tech changes and stuff. So, I think you're going to have to sit around and wait. And we have a blank page, and we have extra questions if we need to get to these. You get your extra sheet. You really want to talk. You want to talk about adding gas to fuel, to adding oil to oil injected 2-strokes, don't you?
I only want to talk about it because that's what the YouTubes are all about it. My phone was kind of blown up today about that.
Yeah, I'm
surprised you didn't get any questions on that.
I didn't.
You're getting prompted off camera for a box.
What? No. That's no. Oh, because you want some. Oh, because somebody said something about tequila. Oh, you just want to make Chris Parker and Mark Daniels jealous, don't you? Okay, you can go ahead and put it on the table, but please get a small glass, because I think there was some healthy pours the other night out of that thing, and it really. Somebody just sent me a picture of boobies on the internets, like to try to distract me.
Boobies and booze. Is that where this is going?
Yeah. So. Let's see. How did you get Taco Mike and come up with Taco Tours? Steve Tacos wants to know this.
Oh, Steve. Yeah, my buddy Steve.
His name is Tacos.
T-A-K. I think it's T-A-K-O-S.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that great? So tacos. I don't know. Great minds all think alike. Like we all serendipitously kind of came up with a bunch of this taco stuff about the same time, I think.
Right. So, so you copied his name to make your company.
Yes, it's a total ripoff. Thank you, Steve, for being born.
I'm kind of scrolling down to the questions here. Let's see. There's a lot of little things. So if you hear us talking about this and you're wondering what we're talking about, on Facebook every Tuesday night at 7:00, that's when we do this live on the Facebook channel currently. I keep saying that I'm going to switch it and go someplace else, but I haven't done that just yet. And now we have people that are arguing in the thing about which is better. Hey, Jimmy, it's Phil. What's your favorite high-speed, not racing light setup? Baja Designs. Any of the Baja Designs stuff, just depending. The more you spend, the better light you're going to get. And I don't want to drop this thing. Did you bring me over a little one of those?
That's significant.
Hey, yeah. If you know what this is that we're rolling up in front of here, it's Clase Azul Ultra Anejo.
Is this a urn for ashes?
Yes. Yeah, for the money that you burnt buying this tequila. And you notice if you're watching on the thing, I've got it blocking my face out, which is probably the best place for that right there. That way you're looking at something that's pretty and beautiful instead of my babbling head. Not cheap.
Bit fancy.
Oh, geez. This
Mexico, right?
Yeah, that's that. So a friend of ours who, hey, by the way, every good deed is paid with pain and suffering. as Jeremy, who got us this bottle, can attest to. He hurt his back shortly after providing us with this super awesome gift. And thank you. So you've just one-upped everybody that's ever tried to get tequila onto this show. Back to tacos, and which we didn't have tonight, and tech talk, which we're doing very little of. What Mike was referencing is, so he stumbled across and forwarded to me a video of some other bald guy on the internets that was talking about how, well, originally it was how you should add oil to your gas on your TPI, or I think it was mostly just he never really hit on the beta, did he?
No, just the TPI.
Just the TPI.
Yeah.
And then
with KTM Husky.
Yeah, and then so now it's disconnect the oil injection system by putting a ball bearing in it and just mix the gas, and then he's got a tuner that you can buy that you increase the jetting, because when you add oil to the gas, it does lean the bike out. It's a kind of it's a known thing, but it's kind of confusing for some. So he's got some sort of setup, and it's like, I don't know. I watched it, and I watched some of it at least, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I have a lot of problems with that. There's a reason why they put it on the bike to make it easier, and I mean, and evidently he's got a mole. He's got a mole on the inside that told him that told him that's what you're supposed to do to get like more power or better performance or whatever. And because the oil gets on the reeds, the oil gets on the reeds, and that costs you some power. Evidently, I'm amazed. That's all. Sorry, I have to laugh because it's kind of confusing. It's well. And all the time I've been riding the TPI bikes, maybe, just maybe, early in the morning, it'll do a little bit of the load up. If you've had a little bit of oil, let a little puddle or whatever it does, but it's so little, and I've never felt lack of throttle response from oil being on the reeds. We thought about that today when we were doing some stuff. Okay, so we're not going to talk about that anymore, but just remember, don't get too much oil on your reeds, kids. It could cost you some power.
The more you know.
The more I think
after school special thing.
I think that's the same guy that talks about the he has this thing that makes your fuel injector, your line going straight. Because I had somebody ask me about that. Actually, this is where it's like, actually, if I say don't believe everything you see in the internets, then you're going to be like, Jimmy, you're on the internets too. And I'm like, well, don't believe me either, because I'm not trying to sell you something. But it was the 90-degree angles on the fuel, right at the fuel injector, that was costing you horsepower because he had a straight one or something. And I'm like, the other day I was actually working on my Husaberg, which has a 90-degree thing and the O-ring inside of there went bad, so I had to replace it. And God, I love my Husaberg. It's a 570, and it has like so much power. Unless you have ridden a Husaberg 570,
this should change to a Husaberg. Every time it's said,
well, you should talk to the producer over there.
570.
He's actually ridden the bike. Am I not lying, Gabe? Is that Husaberg have some power? Yeah, they beg to ride my Husaberg.
This garbage bike up here right now.
Yeah, it's just sitting there on the Honda. But no, the Husaberg, like when you roll that bike on, it just everything it says, like you feel it in my Butt-Dynomometer, which is very accurate. It's registering, it's going off the scale. And I mean, I have a KTM 1090 too, but the Husaberg just blows it away because there's something about weight to power and all this other stuff. The noise that it makes is, and I mean, I'm telling you, it's a 570. Okay, I had a Husaberg 600 that had a carburetor on it that was actually really good too, but nothing like this 570. So back to the 90-degree fuel angle on this bike that makes incredible amounts of usable power that lasts forever. So when I took it off, I said, I'm going to see how much fuel flows out of it. So I took the hose and I put it inside of a big container. I turned it on. I've never, that was a lot of gas coming out of that thing. And I pushed the start button again, and it just went like that. And it's shooting. And within 3 shots, I had, almost a quarter of a quart of gas within 3 seconds. The 90 degree was right there. It had to flow through the 90 degree thing. And I'm thinking to myself, if this monster producing all this power uses that much gas, which it doesn't, I'm like, it's really starving for power. I mean, fuel. I mean, I need a what? I need a straighter. I don't need a 90-degree angle in there. So you got to be careful with what you believe when you see that stuff. So every once in a while, I have to go check and verify it, and I did.
What did you tell me today? That was a really good point. You said the orifice of the injector is the largest restriction in that whole fuel delivery system. Depending on whether you have a 12-hole injector, 8-hole injector, whatever it is, the most
restrictive part in your fuel system is that injector, even when it's wide open. It's not your 90-degree angle or your hose. I'm sure on some mal-designed systems on some other stuff, it there could be some sort of a flow restriction. Maybe if you let that little cone filter in there plug up.
You're talking about the inline filter or the filter in the injector itself?
The filter, the inline. Oh, for sure. If the filter gets plugged up, that'll be restrictive. That's a known thing. But maybe the next most restrictive part in a stock KTM system would be the little cone filter. That
little 10 micron cone filter inline.
Especially if it starts getting plugged up. But I've seen, I've checked mine before, and I've disconnected the line at a different place to see how that filter was doing. And man, there's still a lot of gas flowing through that, even with a pretty pretty substantially plugged filter in there. And so I've always it'd be really interesting to see, I guess I could figure it out. If you figure out how long, how much time would your bike run wide open, which is maximum fuel consumption? How long would your bike run? What is the fuel rate? I would like to see what it looks like. I mean, we calculate the amount. How long is it going to take to empty your tank out? Let's say if it's a 2-gallon tank, it takes an hour it's a gallon a minute. What does a gallon a minute flowing through that hose look like? That's, it's a substantial amount. It would be, spilling out and stuff like that, but not like it was spilling out it's not like it was coming out of that 90-degree angle and spitting into the can. It wasn't 100 cc's a second.
Did you see that video I posted when we were down the Grand Canyon? Me and some buddies did a ride, and we had a 350 that broke down on us. We were 13 miles from the Grand Canyon in the middle of nowhere, and after diagnosing a couple of potential problems, we discovered that the fuel injector was clogged. Did you see that video I posted? So what?
No, I haven't. Yep.
So what do you do when you're out in the middle of nowhere and we had good fuel pressure, we had all the other systems were okay, but we still had no gas, no fuel, no fire.
So did it progressively get worse?
No, he said it just kind of tapered
instantly
off pretty well quickly. Just boom, it went away. And
that ended up being a fuel injector. You said you replaced the fuel injector and it fixed it.
Well, we didn't have another injector. Usually I carry had a spare fuel pump.
Right.
I didn't have an injector. And so we removed the injector, put it backwards on the fuel line,
Yep.
hit the bike. We left the power connector on there, hit the button, and it gave.
There's your trail tip, George. You're getting a trail tip right now. This is
you want it at the end. It's in the middle.
It's funny because I've actually thought about this, but go ahead. This is great.
I did it. This fixed the bike. So we were absolutely stranded, and so we pulled it off and we put it on the fuel line backwards.
Yeah, so you slid the fuel line over the injector nozzle, like where that thing, and then
And luckily, this bike had previously had the ochre type, ear tab connectors, the crimp connectors.
Right.
Those have been removed, and he had regular standard hose clamps on there. So if you're going to do this or be prepared for this, you should have hose clamps with you as part of your kit, or just remove the ochre
clamp
type.
on ones.
Yep, remove those and then put on the screw type. But anyway, so we screwed that on there, and then the first burst of gas that came out of the injector backwards gave a little bit of a little release of that pressure. So the pressure had built up on the injector face and was pushed out that little clog, and it came out. We got a little jet of fuel with like the release of that.
Yeah.
As soon as that pressure left, then it was just the tiniest little at the top of the injector itself. You could just see it overflow with just the tiniest little drip.
So it went, it blew it out, and then it was.
And then at normal release of pressure was just drip, drip, drip.
Wasn't a whole lot. Yeah, I mean, you think about how much fuel a bike uses when it's idling, and it's not a lot. But that's interesting. So I was asking, like, how did it stop? Because typically I found that I can feel a fuel injector on a single cylinder bike
tapering off,
plugging. You really start losing, especially top end power, and a lot of times the throttle response seems to go first. Like the throttle response starts getting dead, and then you go and hold it wide open, and it pulls, and then it slowly pulls less and less.
That's kind of what he was describing.
Well, it should have happened over time, but again, some of the times when guys are doing this, they're riding like really slow speed. They're slow, so they're never really getting wide open. But sometimes, if you get a really bad load of gas, like some really crappy gas, or somehow you're at the bottom of your tank and it's just sucking in crap, and and it's the right kind of crap that can get through the filters. Stuff that kind of can get into the that can. What would you call it? Mix
talcum, almost like talcum powder.
It would like mix. It would mix with the gas, and the gas would pass it through the filters and stuff.
Get past gas.
What would you call that? It would be called. What's the word? What's the word, Gabe? Dissolve. Yeah, it would dissolve in the gas, and then pack up when it gets restricted. Although technically, the micron size of the filter should be quite a bit smaller than the opening of the injector.
So the screen in the tank is 60.
Yep.
The in-tank filter is 40. The in-line cone filter is 10, and then the final injector is 10.
10. So you've got to get it down to 10.
You're going from 60 all the way down to 10, and you have two chances to trap it.
What are the Golan ones are 10 also, correct?
Golan ones are 10, and they have about a quarter size, maybe a $50 size.
Big screen.
Same as a zip tie.
Yeah, and I've had good luck with those as well.
Me too. Yep. I like those.
So okay. George is waving his hat at me.
The thing I picked out of that story was he said he had different clamps on the fuel injector, which goes back to what we talked about.
Different clamps on the fuel injector, yes.
The last thing he did to the bike.
Oh, yeah.
It may have been. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Was there, and sometimes
you introduce a problem.
Well, just if your hoses are a little bit older and you're sliding, your hoses on top of something, and it just, takes a little, it just peels a little bit of a shim, and it's sitting in there and it's loose, and then it goes. I mean, it's so, you just never know. But exactly what George said. And I always tell that people ask me like, hey, my bike started doing this. I go, what'd you do to it last? It's like, I don't know why it's doing this. Like, what'd you do? Did you wash it? Yeah, I washed it. And it's an electrical problem. What did you wash really good? The switch, little things. Okay. Let's see. Todd Kelly asked, let's hear more about the Christini, a good platform if you put some better components on it, engine reliability, practicality of the all-wheel drive. So Todd, go look at the first review I have up on dirtbiketest.com of the bike. We are working on the durability right now, engine reliability right now, because that's something before I can comment on it. I have to prove it to myself. And the practicality of the all-wheel drive is, it's frankly, it's just different. And just like anything, with every advantage, there is some sort of a disadvantage to it. But I think especially depending on your skill level, depending on the traction of the area you're riding in, there are definitely some advantages to it. And the problem I think you mostly get is from riders that have been riding one-wheel drive motorcycles for a long time. It's a change to go to an all-wheel drive motorcycle. It does stuff differently. So different in motorcycle terms is bad. So I like it. I think it does some good stuff, and it takes me about 10 minutes to remember how to ride an all-wheel drive. It's just like driving an all-wheel drive car. When you're sliding around a turn, you turn into stuff. It accelerates better from stops and standstills. It floats over bad traction better. It's heavier. It can torque steer a little bit. So it depends on what you're looking for. With advantages come disadvantages and stuff. Yeah, Mark, how's this for your fifth tea, buddy? That's tequila. And by the way, it's really good. Okay, you do all sorts of stuff to make your injectors flow more fuel, but you should adjust the tune if you mess with it. It's expecting X fuel injected at certain injector pulse. Right?
Sure.
Right. Sounds great to me.
Works.
Michael Brown, who is a top fan. I guess my comment is don't, and he uses the F word with your injector. Just keep them clean.
Family show.
Yeah. Well, not too family, but let's see. The video was a great. So Mark saw your video. Mark Daniels saw your video. He was wide open, and when he stopped, it wouldn't restart. That's what Danny Hopkins said of the situation.
Danny was there.
Yeah. That sounds like what I was describing. Like that's the kind of fuel injector failure. Although the only one that I've ever had happen to me personally that I experienced through and through took 2 full tanks of gas to, like, I started feeling it. I didn't know what it was. I went through a whole tank of gas. On my second tank of gas, when it was getting low, that's when it
eventually tapered off.
I managed to get it back here. I managed to get it home, so I was not stranded. So you've got some questions here. You want to run through these?
Yeah, so these are questions that I pulled out of our group. So this Facebook group where we have the KTM EXC guys, some of these things are asked like pretty often. These are regular ones. The one that I thought was kind of interesting, and we had talked about this before, a lot of guys will wonder about handlebar isolation. So part of the aspect of riding like a dual sport bike, you tend to have an older crowd. These are guys who are a little more mature, a little older.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, fair enough. These are guys who are getting into dual sporting as a more sane way to enter motorcycling, and they're taking longer distance tours. In fact, I help some guys who are riding around the world, and one of their questions often is, as with some previous wrist injuries, how...
Me?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the best way to isolate bar dampening vibrations, especially on those 500s, which are counterbalanced, but not really
It's
great?
no Honda 450L.
There you go. So Mako 360, you have flex bars on your bike. There's the BRP rubber mounts.
KTM has a thing. It's
system.
I don't know. They have some letters for it. But so here's my take on it, and I have to say I've run flex bars. I've run flex bars since they first came out, because I retired from racing because of wrist injury. So my wrists are bad, and I do feel it and I notice it. So those typically those are my favorite from some very specific reasons. But most of my bikes have a flex bar and a BRP mount on top of them, because I also run the Scott's damper, and it's just a setup that's so sano and so simple, and it works very well. Flex will tell you that their bars eliminate vibration. I don't agree with that. I think that they at certain points they limit vibration, or they minimize vibration, but they don't seem to be the best ones for, quote, vibration, if that's kind of what you're looking
like
for.
High frequency harmonics.
The high harmonic vibrations.
Dampen the engine.
The stuff that you feel kind of coming through your foot pegs, or, through your gas tank or wherever, it's coming through different points. At certain points, it creeps up through the bars. A better way to get rid of that would be with some tuned vibration dampening type things, which Fast Company does make these bar ends.
Yeah.
A couple of companies that make bar ends. There's foam you can pump in your handlebars that does or doesn't work. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there for it. But typically, when you do that, you're going to just move around the point where the bars, where the harmonics seems to work on the bar, at that point. So it's funny because when we were testing all this stuff, and I did a whole bunch of testing with this stuff, we found that the bar damper you would run in a 2-stroke 300 is different than a bar damper you would run in a 4-stroke 500.
Really? So are these manufacturers tuning them differently, and you can order specific?
They didn't initially, but when we found out, like, hey, this made it worse, and they're like, what? And
so you're testing exposed.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so there was it just depends on the RPM and like where things start shaking. So the flex bar is really good at just taking the sharp impacts out of the handlebars, and all you have to do is just do a hammer drop with your hand. You take your hand and just drop it down on the bars, drop it on a normal bar, drop it on a flex bar, and you're going to feel a very big difference in what you feel. And that's every time that your wheel hits a bump, you get that kind of a sensation up through the handlebars. So
like square edge absorption.
They're really good at that. Anytime your fork's going to take a hit, they're incredible at just reducing that out. And I've always said the one thing that flex bars really do is they make a bad fork good. So if I had a bike with, let's just say, 4CS forks or Marzocchi forks that I didn't feel like spending some time with to make them better, you can put flex bars on there, and those forks get like 70% better.
You could almost fix a pair of forks for $300 as opposed to maybe $1,100.
And what's funny is I like the handling precision of a stiff fork versus the mushy feel of a really super plush fork. And so I can run the setting I like to feel in the handling perspective, but still not get beat up on my wrists from the fork when I'm running a flex bar.
Okay, that makes sense. That's valid.
And then, the BRP rubber mount, that is good for the vibration. But again, it's depending on what color rubbers, dampers, elastomers you run in there. Changes a little bit about where it's going to vibrate and where you're going to feel it. And in combination between those two, it seems like you can get rid of a lot of the vibration. Not all of it. I don't think you can ever get rid of all of it. It just depends on where you want to tune it. So, and the rubber mount has a little bit of a damping, but I would say it's 10% of the kind of damping you're going to get out of the flex bar, which, like I said, is good. The Mako 360 is a different design, and it's a little bit like, it's kind of like the KTM design. I think the Mako is taken in a whole nother level together. So the bar is still like a kind of a unified piece, and it allows it to kind of suspend inside of a rubber elastomer. And I did some testing with them on the very early when they were really working on their elastomer development and stuff, and tried a lot of different setups with that. And for me, because it's still on a single bar, it's like because you sort of at that point come disconnected a little bit from the steering itself.
Interesting. That makes sense.
It moves. It allows the handlebar to move. And so just as much for some people when they feel the flex bar going up and down and it freaks them out.
Yeah.
When I feel the steering inputs
in all directions.
For the most part, I mean, there's stops in it, and it's not as bad. I mean, some people notice it right away, and other people don't. So that, in essence, just bothered me. Could I have gotten used to it? Probably. In like I'm just the movement of the flex bar doesn't even bother me anymore. I don't even notice it. I notice it when my bars don't move and my wrists hurt the next day. But the Mako 360 is, like I said, it's different. I know a lot of guys really like it, and it does sort of the same thing. So just 3 different ways of kind of skinning the cat. I guess the best thing you can do is, if you have a buddy that has one, get a chance to ride it and see if that's if one or the other feels better. But I think I know a lot of the GNCC guys and stuff are starting to run the Makos and seem to be pretty happy with them. Yeah, that's what I know about those.
Okay,
hard to get rid of the vibration totally. You can just move it. I found you can just change where it's at. So you find the RPM where you're going to be riding at, and then reduce the vibration there, and then don't rev it a whole lot or not as enough to make it work.
Basically what I think you're saying is trying to push the frequency to a spot that's tolerable to you. So if that's up, probably down, because if you can dampen some of that away with either the foam and the inserts in the end of the bars, or the little brass insert like harmonic balancer deals, just trying to absorb.
And I've ridden bikes where the vibration just gets you, RPM goes up, it just starts going and gets out of control. But most of the bikes today, with the counterbalance and stuff, it kind of comes in and then it disappears. So, okay. What's the next one?
So these are two maybe that I get asked a lot, and that is, the difference between a JD versus a Reflash versus a Vortex versus a Get. And I guess you could even throw in there that Euro map, so the off-road Euro map. Okay.
The Mistako.
Okay.
The mistake map.
Yeah. So the Euro map is like the fabled, solution to everything. Is there anything else that we're forgetting? So between the JD, Reflash, Vortex, stock US EPA map, so there's that one. That's the one your bike comes with.
Yeah.
So there's all these different sort of tuning variations.
This is your area of expertise. That's where your white sheet goes into detail and talks about all this stuff. And we've talked about it before. JD is fuel tuning only. If you're going to do anything with anything else in your system, you should probably have the ability to fuel tune it. If you're going to what everybody does, puts a muffler on it. And I see the other question is FMF 4.1 or Q4. Yeah. Please, people, go to the Q4. Just do everybody's ears a favor. People think, I just want to, I want more power. And I've seen the dyno charts, and the dynos confirm what I feel, that the Q4 will make more power at higher RPMs, especially like the RPMs where we ride at, especially on the EPA bikes that are rev limited, because that back pressure actually kind of helps at that point. And they may be able to get some more peak and stuff with the open and stuff, but where you're riding your bike, you're probably going to get better, more usable power out of the Q4. And a lot of times it doesn't rev through it as fast, so you actually get to use it.
Keeps you in the power band a little longer.
And then like best for low end, you're gonna see better numbers with a Q4. With a more open pipe, that's just where you're going to see the numbers. But generally, like I just talked about, how it goes through the power, that better number, because it's on a dyno drum that's not spinning, it's going to push better numbers. But when you're riding on the dirt, it's going to spin more. So it may feel like it's more, but it's going to spin more, and you're going to get less traction on, when we're talking about off-road type riding. You go to the motocross track, and you're going to, I think then you can completely flip what I just said. So, but I think the Q4 is just better because the spark arrestor, they're just quieter, just better for our sport, period. But back to the JD versus a Reflash versus Vortex versus the Get. The Reflash is same as like Euromap. That's kind of in the same thing. It's like, who's reflashing it? What are they reflashing it to? Right. And is it part of a tuned system? If it's like somebody knows what they're talking about as a kit, then are they what are they reflashing? Just fuel? Or are they doing ignition as well? Who knows? The Vortex and Get give you the ability they adjust ignition timing, and like we experienced today, they have a base map, and then there's a whole bunch of tuning available afterwards. And then how, is the base map what you want? And then if it isn't what you want, is there something else that you want? And can you communicate with that guy? So we're down to like when I talk about suspension valving, what is it you want, and where are you trying to go? And the ability of those things, the Vortex and the Get, is they can be so custom tuned and set up for individual. That's their advantage.
That's their killer app.
But I don't think that most people are using that to its potential. So, fuel stabilizer versus avgas versus race gas. Avgas is made for riding in your airplane where you're running constant RPMs. If you're doing that on your motorcycle, you should probably come and see me about a riding school, and I'll talk to you about blips of throttle and how to be a better rider. Race gas, if you've got money to burn and a fuel tuner on your bike, or you can tune it for it, that's great. And then fuel stabilizer, yes, especially if you're letting your bike sit for any period of time. We've had really good luck with that Tektron Power Sport stuff that's sitting right over there.
Oh, is that this?
This stuff.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Sponsorship.
They should come on and sponsor us.
Up here.
Yeah, right there. And then what are we?
Something a lot of guys will ask is Scott's GPR. Is there another stabilizer? Is there a need for a stabilizer?
Well, since I was involved with the development of the Scott's, like from early on, I'm going to tell you the Scott's is the absolute by 100% best steering stabilizer out there. And here's the reason: it's not the most adjustable one. The Fastway System 6 or whatever System 5 is the most adjustable one. But the Scott's one has all the adjustments you would ever need, in my opinion. The difference between those two the
GPR and the Scots?
No. I'll get to the GPR in a second. The Scots and the BRP one is the Scots. The valving, high speed and low speed valving seem to be very isolated. In other words, when you adjust the low speed, it only adjusts the low speed. When you adjust the high speed, it only adjusts the high speed. With the BRP one, there is some
BRP or Fastway?
Fastway. I'm sorry, Fastway. It wasn't BRP. What was the company before? It was Billet Racing Products. Yeah, so BRP, because they were kind of joined forces together. The Fastway, there's overlap. So when you adjust the low speed, it also affects the high speed and vice versa. In my experience, when I was testing it, and when I told them that, they weren't sure about that, and that's what I felt. And I'm not sure where I still have one. There's one on one of my Husabergs, believe it or not. So it kind of depends on what you want. One might be the other. They both have the adjustable sweep, so you can adjust how long they're valving for. And then the Fastway in what's their other adjustment? They have some other adjustment on there.
So the Fastway has end stops and they have the amount of dampening out to the end.
Right, but you can stop it. But you can stop before the end. So, anyways, it's a crazy amount of thing. But the GPR generally has a single knob on it that adjusts the high end. Well, you can't get rid of the low speed valving on the GPR, and I don't know that it has high speed valving in it, because almost any time I've run a GPR, it almost has too much low speed valving all the time. So it's not for me. That's not to say that it's bad. If you like to have a steering damper and feel like you have a steering damper on your motorcycle, the GPR feels like you have a steering damper on your motorcycle.
Because there's continual resistance. There's never any free.
Yeah, there's no free back to no. It does free back to center, doesn't it? Does
no,
it?
It's dampened out.
That's right. It does not free back to center, and that's the other problem I have with it, because I need to have that free back to center. That's the reason the Scots is a Scots and it's not a Unique or an Öhlins, is the free back to center.
The Öhlins has the dampened back?
Yes. Oh, it did originally. No, it was called a Unique, and it was when it was
really?
Unique before Öhlins bought it. Yeah. So it had the that's what made the Scots unique, was it was free back to center. And Scots now sells a road version that valves all the time, like the GPR. So return to center, low speed, high speed,
this is the
cornering
fast way.
damping, cornering angle, control the resistance with the handlebars. Okay, so they have that's what it is.
Cornering angle.
They which is generally on a dirt bike you want that free. But I see where they're using it so your bars don't slam into the, slam it to the end of the
full stop.
The full stop, yeah, because the most dampers you only have them really valving more towards the center, and it's exactly the opposite of the way like the Honda steering damper works.
Like the CRF damper with the little guy that's on the triple clamp.
Those hold the bike in the turn. That's what they're designed for. Okay. So when you turn down, when the bars
hyperextended out.
Yeah, that's where the damper really works. When it's straight up and down, it barely even moves. It's when it gets pulled out to the side. That's when it.
So it's dampening at almost full lock. So when you're like full sweep.
And that for motocross really, really works. It's really good, especially like at like supercross type bull turns. It holds the bike down into the turn and very noticeable. I've ridden Yamahas with the Honda damper, motocross bikes with the Honda damper on it, and really liked it. And I wish that Honda still had them on them. So they have the mounts for them. You can buy them. It's a good mod. Okay. Scott's steering damper review. Look at that, George. You did a good job. So.
I got one last question, because a guy messaged me this, and he was pretty insistent that I actually asked this numerous times. You see guys do like heat wrap. They'll wrap their entire heat wrap, and they think that aids in scavenging effect. They think that there's a performance gain, and there's always these debates back and forth about whether or not that adds any value to just
if I heat wrap my exhaust system, will it improve performance to help my bike run cooler? Should I put it on a higher pressure? That's the radiator.
That would be something different.
Different. Two different questions there. If I put heat, will it improve performance? I had done some tests back in the day with different coated headers and heat wrapped headers and stuff like that, and I actually felt like I could feel a little difference in throttle response but you had to really, really think about it and really be picky about it. I think the best thing was that it kept the heat from going into your gas tank, heating up the gas or burning things. So
you feel like there might be some scavenging effect benefit by having a heat wrap, or at least kind of coating
to a similar level, but not nearly as effective as like a mega bomb. The difference between like a standard header and an FMF mega bomb.
Yeah, go into that.
Those add throttle response. They enhance throttle response. They enhance like just kind of the way the bike feels when you come on the throttle. I don't know why. Don't know exactly why. It also kills sound. It drops usually a decibel or two down. But I found in my testing, I actually a lot of times I prefer the Mega Bomb header with even on the stock exhaust if it'll fit. If it's
stock
the same
can Mega Bomb header pipe.
Yeah.
So
and that's why you've seen a lot of manufacturers go to that design. You see, KTM has it now.
They got that Coke can sitting on top of it.
Actually, Honda took it off on their 250F. But yeah, they have their, there's different ways to get around the patents that FMF has, but the Mega Bomb header does work, and it's better than an exhaust, a heat wrap.
Okay, so plug for you. You've been around in the industry a long time. Were you at FMF when they were developing the Power Bomb and the Mega Bomb?
No, I wasn't at FMF. I was just testing a lot of their stuff when they were doing strange things like that. I actually did a lot more two-stroke pipe testing for them way back in the day on things, but that whole Mega Bomb thing I think really started mostly for sound. But then they started saying, hey, wait, this is doing something good for power, too.
What is the science behind that? That's basically like a resonance chamber where the sound pulse coming off of is it the shock wave off the exhaust valve?
I think they started...
Say that again?
Yeah, it's nothing new.
The math guy that figured it out in the 1800s.
Yeah, it's nothing new. So originally the Power Bomb, the one that was in the front, originally started out as like a pre-muffler. Like you've seen pre-mufflers on car. Kind of started as a pre-muffler, and then as they started playing with it, and I had to get Donnie in here to explain like how he's in the shop in the dyno room every day like a mad scientist, finding all these things and playing all these different things. So, but yeah, there's a reason why they're on there.
So Helmholtz resonator. Yeah, Helmholtz resonator. So if you want to nerd it up, you can just get on the interwebs and Google that.
George is doing that for you right now. It's already on there.
Oh,
it's already up there.
Good job.
Yeah. Okay. What are the other ones? Anti-gravity restart. That's an awesome technology. I've not had a chance to use it yet. What was it? You had one about Kickstarters.
Yeah, so somebody asked once, should I invest in, because the newer bikes, the 17 and up bikes don't come, the EXE and FEs don't come with the Kickstart.
Right.
So somebody asked this question, where the crap did it go? Which one was that? I don't see it here, but basically, it
was add a Kickstarter.
Should I go through the expense and hassle of adding a Kickstarter, or use a jump pack, just carry a jump pack, or both, or the capacitor? Do you know about it, like a start capacitor?
I carry that. So I carry a little wire it's a capacitor run into it. And in the event that my KTM battery goes dead, which has happened a couple times, because they won't kickstart with a dead battery.
A flat battery.
Yeah, so I've had a battery.
Why is that?
I had a battery, just a stock battery break a cell, and you just disconnect the battery and put the capacitor in, and you can kickstart it. It's not easy. I mean, they're not easy to kickstart. I carry around one of the little jump starter things now. So I carry a little, it's about a little bit bigger in size than an iPhone, and it has some battery terminal clamps on it, and that's what I carry, because my Husaberg is that 570 that I talk about all the time. The one with all
the one you love. That should be here.
I love it. It has like a lot of power. I mean, it has so much power, I never really even worry that it doesn't have a Kickstarter, because usually I can get it going so fast. If I think the battery's going dead, I can coast all the way home. But I've never had to worry about the Kickstarter on that one. It doesn't even have one. But I do carry I make it a habit to kind of carry a little jump starter pack, because that way usually I end up charging my GoPro and my phone and all the other stuff, and the bike's not a problem. So
talk about that really quick about the capacitor. What is it about a flat battery, and what's the need of the capacitor, and what does that do?
you need to charge. The battery goes dead. Battery's dead, and all of a sudden you don't have any power to run your fuel pump, which you need to have your pressure so that your bike can start. And you can kick it all you want, and it's not going to generate enough juice to pre-charge the fuel, to have the fuel pump running when it needs to be running to do the squirt of gas when you need it. So that's just KTM's. I don't know if what the deal is with other bikes, like
Same.
Because some of them have capacitors in the system, and so when you go to push start it, and that's the other thing is, like, I have a recluse clutch in one of my Husabergs, so I need to be able to jump start that bike.
Oh yeah.
So I know how to go inside and well, not the one of them. One of them has the ball bearings one in it.
Z-Start Pro.
Z-Start Pro. So you cannot, like, unscrew the Allen screw and get the clutch to bind to get it to start. But another trail tip, did we talk about this, about the shoelace, George? You were impressed by that? If you smoke your clutch, like every time you go riding, you smoke your clutch, you should carry a shoelace with you, because you can take that shoelace out and lay it around in the clutch plates, just wrap it around there and just bolt your clutch back together, and you got a clutch for a little while again.
It was my shoelace.
Oh, it was his?
Yeah, no, got done.
Yeah. No, that works. I used to ride with this guy. You may have heard of him.
Name drop.
He's kind of a fast guy, but he was really hard on clutches. He may have won the Baja 1000 like 11 times or something.
Name check.
And we used to go trail riding. My job was to take him trail riding and beat him up.
100 points if you answer in the fake book who this is.
He used to smoke his clutch on the XR600 or XR650 so bad. It was usually the XR650 because they were all geared for that race down in Mexico, I think, called Baja 1000. And he would get that clutch so hot that the clutch plates would actually pop and snap. I mean, when we were taking it apart, it would be crackling. Usually we were riding in the snow, by the way. And so you can actually, when the plates pop and crack, you can actually take them and stack them on top of each other. So you like almost double up on parts of the clutch, and you can bind it back together. And then you can get the bike to where you have the spare clutch that you stashed because you knew this was going to happen. So, yeah. Okay. I think with that, we're going to end on that one. Does anybody else have any really good questions? Hey, Gabe, can I hang up on all the calls? Right? Okay, I'm done with the calls. Trevor says he can't call in because he's just leaving dinner. He's on what we call a press junket. That's where he went out all day and had to take pictures of brand new Yamahas, and he's going to ride them tomorrow, but he can't talk about them until next Wednesday, because what manufacturers are doing, because all journalists are lazy, is they give them a whole week to write the story now. So it's not a rush to justice anymore. And, okay. So you can, we're going to put up the, what I don't like about the Honda CR450X video, probably tonight or tomorrow, in case you're interested in watching that, because that guy he likes his Honda so much. I'm going to say what I don't like about it. I blame him.
Poor guy.
And no, I'm glad he should do a rebuttal, and that's about it. But for Taco Mike, who do you want to promote? Where do people need to go? What do we need to check? What do we need to check out?
Man, if you so what we do is we just kind of we provide parts and accessories and specialty gear for these EXC and FE bikes, KTM Adventure guys, and tacomoto.co. Tacomoto.co is where we're at.
Okay. And you can find us at dirtbiketest.com. We have all the different Insta book, news space, face chat, and things like that. But maybe Instagram and maybe Facebook are probably the two best places to find us besides our website that has awesome information. I'm super stoked that you guys are pushing those buttons that have the thumbs up on them. Maybe by next week we'll have a brand new sponsor, but for now, and for Jeremy, thank you for the Clase Azul. You made a few of the people in the room jealous. We will hopefully see you out on the trail. Cheers.
Go out and get some adventure.